Welcome, everyone. This is Shamatha meditation, Tibetan Buddhism, Shamatha meditation week. And my name is Dan. If you're watching on YouTube, you can type your questions in at any time, and I'll get to them when we have question and answer. Is anyone at the temple for the first time today? Anyone's first time doing Shamatha meditation?
I think so.
Yeah. You have to figure out what it is first?
Yeah.
Does anyone have any pressing obligations in roughly the next hour? Meeting to go to, loved one, maybe going into labor soon, maybe you have someone to pick up, medications you need to take? No? Okay. So then I assume then that nobody needs to worry about the future beyond this class for the duration of the class. You can settle all your worries about the future. Does anyone really need to process something about the past? Maybe they just got flipped off, or they need to think about something. Something terrible happened. You're meeting with your biographer after class, and you have to figure a bunch of stuff out about your life. Okay, no hands. So you guys don't need to worry about the past for the duration of this class. Does anyone need to be somewhere else right now? Friends are at a party. You just saw your arch enemy across the room and you need to slip out. Okay, so no one needs to think about the present for the duration of this class other than what's going on inside this class. So we can temporarily limit the scope of our world to just this temple and this class and what's going on here. This is important because a lot of times when we sit down to meditate, we get this quiet space out of our day. And if you're not told otherwise, especially, you might think it's a great time to think about all the stuff that happened to you today, all the stuff you need to do later, all the stuff that's going on right now in other places of the world. So even at home, it's good to try to create that space mentally before you get started on shamatha meditation. Recognize that for the next 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, you're just going to meditate. And if there's anything to worry about, you can put it off until the end of that 30 minutes. One thing that helps is to set an audible alarm so you don't have to think, is time up yet? Is it time up yet? Another thing that can help is put your phone on a focus mode so that people who really you would want to be able to interrupt your meditation can still interrupt your meditation, but telemarketers, et cetera, won't. So then you don't have to have your phone off and be worried if people are trying to reach you. And then at home, you can limit the scope of your world to your meditation session and cushion. And it'll be clear why this is important today's meditation, especially. So we're continuing meditations from the book, Pointing Out the Great Way, the Stages of Meditation in the Mahamudra Tradition by Daniel P. Brown, PhD. And we've been going through, this is the third class of a 3-class series where we've been going through introductory practices of body, speech, and mind isolation. So we started with body isolation, which was just sitting in posture and allowing the energies called lung to settle in our bodies. Normally these are practiced for longer periods of time, and we'll recap them. So it's not like you would have mastered them by now anyway. And then the second one we did was once you calm the lung of your body, you realize you become more aware of all the mental chatter going on in your head. So the next thing that we looked at was how to not be distracted, not how to stop it, but how not to be distracted by it. And then in this third week, we're doing mind isolation, which we're trying to learn how to focus the whole mind undistractedly on the present moment. So by the whole mind, we mean more than just mental chatter. In addition to thoughts, we're also looking at perceptions and feelings. Perceptions, I always like to think of like RoboCop or Terminator and how you're looking out through the robot. They show a scene in the movie where it's from his perspective, and like there's all these like color codings and little labels on everything. It's sort of, perceptions is sort of like that mental overlay over all of our sensory experiences that says this is a threat, this is something good, this is something desirable. Labels, chairs, windows, all that kind of stuff. So perceptions can be related to the present. They can also be related to past memories or anticipations of the future. Feelings are pretty obvious. I think we all experience these differently, but they're your bodily reactions, bodily emotions related to things that are going on. They can be reactions to thoughts, they can be reactions to perceptions. And if you want an exhaustive list of all the available emotions, pick up your phone and scroll through all the emojis, and you'll see all the different emotional reactions that exist. We're also going to add the concept. So now you've got thoughts, perceptions, feelings as all part of mind. We're also going to add attention. That's what you're currently focused on, hopefully the class. And finally, intention, which is your current motive or objective or what you're trying to do in the moment. So to put all this in an example, if you're crossing the street and on foot and a car comes racing around the corner, your perception immediately sees the car as a threat without having to think about it. Your attention is drawn to the car. You're not going to be paying attention to a little bird flying by or a nice little flower on the side of the road. Your attention is going to be focused on that threat. So that's perception and attention. For feeling, you might have a feeling of fear. For thoughts, maybe a thought goes through your head like, oh no, oh my goodness, something like that. And then intention, you intend not to get hit by the car, so maybe you wave your arms, maybe you jump into the bushes. So for the next meditation, we're going to try to bring the whole mind, all of these things together on the present moment. Any questions on any of this so far? Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is get into 7-point Vajrayana posture. We went over this in more detail in the body isolation class. But the first thing is legs. So if you're up in front on a cushion, that's the best. If you're on a chair, totally understandable, especially for a long class like this. But at home, highly recommend trying to sit cross-legged. Your feet can either be flat. If that makes your knees too high, you can hook them back a little bit. I've also heard advice to cross your legs. Sometimes that can help prop your spine up a little bit. Next piece of advice is straight spine. And I've given this advice a lot, and a lot of people have questions. What about, because you even read every vertebrae should be like a coin stacked on top of each other. If I do that, I end up kind of like this, and that's not right. What I realized, though, is that this is a instruction for the lower torso. So it's really the spine. They want the spine to be straight on your lower torso. So that's where you can actually apply like a stack of coins. Also, people say like a string's pulling you up, because it's not just that you want your vertebrae on top of each other. You don't want to be leaning this way, forward or back. So that's the second point, spine straight in the lower torso. Then when you get to your upper torso, I call this open heart, but the idea is you lift your chest a little bit and pull your shoulders back a little bit, and that'll actually curve your spine back a little bit. But it should feel very stable. And then the next point, point 4, is you want your right hand over your left hand on your lap. I'm going to lift them up to show you. So it's right hand over left with thumbs like this, and you put that on your lap. Point 5, so when you do all this, you start to bring your neck down, and I think this also has to do with good spine form. You might notice, I noticed it very distinctly. It's like a little shelf that my head rests on, or my neck. So it's like your head rests on your neck is one way they put this. So as you start moving down, you might feel like a little ledge where your head rests. That's point 5. Point 6 is related to the mouth and jaw. You relax your jaw, you relax your lips, and the tip of your tongue to the roof of your mouth. And then if I did that now, I wouldn't be able to explain the 7th point, which is eyes partly open. And then some manuals say, look at the tip of your nose. Or the idea is you just want your gaze unfocused somewhere in front of you. So you can imagine that you're looking at a space or a point in front of you, like an invisible point. Look at the tip of your nose, or you can just unfocus your eyes. And that is the 7-point posture. So for this meditation, on top of that, we're going to be observing 4 rules. Don't think about the past. So you don't try to stop unintentional thoughts. But if an unintentional thought comes up about the past, you don't follow it, you don't elaborate on it. Don't think about the future. So again, if you find yourself thinking about the past or future, and even if you're voluntarily elaborating on it and you realize you're doing that, just cut off that train of thought. 3rd rule, don't think about the present. Don't reflect, analyze, or conceptualize on anything regarding the present moment. You do want to be in the present moment. You just don't want to elaborate on it, think about it, consider it, wonder about it. Just let it arise as it is. Finally, this is a non-meditation practice in that we're not going to meditate on anything. So you don't specifically focus on your breath or your body or anything like that. Again, you just let the present moment arise as it is without a specific object of attention. So if it arises with an object of attention, that's fine. If it doesn't, that's also fine. So to close a couple loopholes in those rules, if you really analyze those rules, there would be nothing against daydreaming about flying on the back of a bird through the hills, because it's not past, present, or future. But don't do that. And then don't think about like what your friends are doing somewhere else and think like technically that's the present moment. By present moment, they mean the here and the now, not some daydream, and not something that's going on somewhere else. So to sum up really quick and kind of say it a different way, that's not based on having to remember the rules. Just stay focused on the present moment without a specific object of attention. Don't analyze the present, let it arise as it is. Don't be distracted by thoughts of the past, present, or future. Then getting back to perceptions, don't be lured into thinking by perceptions, memories, or anticipations. Don't be lured into thinking by the feelings that arise from these. And if you're distracted, cut off that train of thought and return to the present moment. Okay, so we're ready to get started. Get back to your 7-point posture if you've drifted out of it. And if there's any questions, otherwise I'm going to ring the bell and we'll do this for probably about 15 minutes. So if you have any questions, ask them now. Here we go. If you've been distracted by something in the future, memory of the past, or even something going on right now, cut off that train of thought and come back to the present moment. If you're falling asleep or getting weary of the meditation, um, it helps if your eyes are wide open to not fall asleep. Also, it might be helpful if you're getting weary of the meditation or sleepy to just take a 20-second break, stretch your body and look around and move your head around. And just one more reminder, if you've been distracted, let go of the train of thought, come back to the present. Let whatever arises, arise. You can relax your posture, make your eyes open, move around a little bit. Anybody want to share how that went for everyone? Anybody find it boring? Tedious? Tiresome? Sleepy? Uplifting? Exciting?
Difficult.
Yeah?
I just in the sense, it's tough to like clear the mind,
Yeah.
As much of them. I think I'm getting better at it. That was the first time I've ever kept my eyes open. I've been with my eyes closed.
Mhm.
And there was something about that sort of, unfocusing, like sort of keeps you in that visual, like so that keeps the mind at least, it lasted for a few minutes before my other thoughts started creeping in. But I like trying that. I heard about the Zen thing where you sit and stare at the wall.
Yeah.
I thought there was like too much going on here for me. I needed like more of a blank thing to look at. But I liked it. And then there did come, a few times where I thought that I was actually clearing my mind, like going into that sort of meditative type of a feeling where I feel like my brain is relaxing.
Mhm.
Like it's like sort of just like a muscle. Where I'll be lying there, I'll be in my little throwing chair with my daughter. So you probably didn't want this long of an answer.
No, that's fine.
And we play in the shallows, and I float in this little chair. And I noticed 15 minutes, 20 minutes in, a lot of times, like my back relaxed like more. Like,
Yeah.
I'm like, that's been in there that whole time.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I wasn't conscious of it.
Mm.
But eventually, your body was like, relaxes more. Oh my God, there's more in there.
Mhm.
It's kind of the same thing with the brain.
Yeah, there's tension there that you didn't even realize until it's gone, until it eases up, and then
like almost like that's where I almost like sort of feel my brain kind of like go a little limp.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm sure it's obviously not happening, but yeah, that's good. I'm really trying to work on, because I've also just read about this, how great meditation is just for, your brain. Like you can really like change your brain.
Mm-hmm. Are you new to meditation?
Yeah, like a few months.
Oh, okay, because your posture's so good. I thought maybe.
Well, I was in the chair last time.
Oh, okay.
And you were calling me out.
Yeah.
And then I went to the Metaphorist Monastery.
Oh yeah, okay. Yeah, I remember we talked about that. Yeah.
So then I got a crash course in posture.
Yeah.
I was so sore by the time I left. 2 days, like 4 hours of meditating a day in posture. Was not ready.
Mm-hmm.
But a guy that was there on the last day showed up here on Thanksgiving. Like days later, after we just met each other, like randomly, here we are. So I love those guys. They're like, hey, my God. And I ended up driving him down to do the handing out of the food. And we got back, and I bought one of these. What are these called?
Zafu is the. Yeah. I think Zafu is the top part, and the Zabuton is the bottom part.
And so he pulled one of each of these out down in the shop while I was buying mine, and gave me a lesson.
Yeah.
About like getting my knees below my hips and all that kind of thing. So it's all happening.
It's excellent.
Trying.
Yeah. Good. Keep trying. Yeah.
So it's a long answer. Sorry, guys.
I don't see everyone else. Yeah, waiting to jump in with their opinions, but
yeah, I've been doing it long enough to have some feelings on it.
What?
I've been doing it long enough to have some feelings on it.
Yeah, good. That's good. It's good to hear the. Because I was afraid you were going to say is that you couldn't calm your mind and stuff like that. In which case, my advice would have been it's the effort that counts and keep trying. But no, you don't try harder. You just keep at it.
Exactly.
But it's fantastic that you're already having, and it sounds like you're really committed. So.
Yeah, I'm trying to do it at home, but I love coming here too.
Yeah.
It makes me do it, and I like learning about these new techniques and stuff.
Yeah.
And try to figure it out. It's not easy.
The success stories are always good news.
Yeah. So far so good. I don't know the success story yet.
But this is probably one of the more simpler, boring, tedious, if you potentially, because there's it's just all the things we're not doing. Next time we'll be doing Shamatha meditation focused on a rock. So if you, at least you have the rock to look at. But by the same token, this is probably also one of the more potent forms of meditation, just raw present moment awareness. And after typically like in Mahamudra or Dzogchen, you learn Shamatha meditation, and then this is kind of preliminary. Then you learn Shamatha, then Vipassana, and then you come back to a practice like this. And with that background, it has even more potency. So for the second meditation, we're going to try to refine the present moment to be even more granular. So when we started out, I kind of tried to get everyone to be in the present moment of what's going on in the temple for the next hour. And then we were just doing the present moment as it arises without elaboration. Now we're going to try to refine our attention of the present moment to be even more granular, to every instant of time being sort of a separate, fresh event. So the attention is kind of flowing along with each moment. And when you're in this kind of a flow, every moment appears and then it's immediately replaced by the next moment, by the next moment, by the next moment. So there's not really past, present, or future, because the present becomes the past instantly. The future becomes the present instantly. There's no time to grab onto the present because it's already in the past by the time it hits you. There's no anticipation of the future because the future becomes the present before you can even anticipate it. So it's a little tricky to get into this kind of a flow. I think the best analogy for this is, or at least an analogy for this is, if you think of time as kind of like a movie reel. So if you play the moments in quick succession, it seems like this flowing thing. But if you actually took each frame, it plays out a story, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And if you actually took every frame and just looked at it individually, okay, here's a frame, here's a frame, here's a frame, here's a frame, then you're just appreciating every frame as it is, and it's not flowing together into a story. Or similarly, if there was a table in the scene and you're playing the movie, it looks like a solid table. Or even if it was animated, um, but if you roll out the film, or if it was animated, it's actually 100 different tables that, when played together, forms this illusion of a solid table. So we're trying to keep each moment isolated and not let objects or stories aggregate over time, and just trying to be with every single instant as it pops up. So for one example, thoughts can't even form words or concepts because it's only one syllable at a time, one little sliver of sound at a time. And you can't evaluate if your meditation is going well because at the moment you're meditating, before you could even evaluate or think about it, it's in the past, and we're staying with the present and not in the past. So I know that it might sound a little confusing, but the important thing is that we hold the intention to do this. Try your best to do it. Don't worry about the result. And are there any questions on this? Yeah.
Real quick. So normally with meditation, you have like breathing, or with transcendental, you have like a word that you can focus on the ground. Can I still do that in this type of meditation, or is that kind of in opposition to what we're trying to find?
In many of the meditations, and most of the meditations that I teach in this class, in fact, the whole point of shamatha meditation, there is always an object of attention. In this particular practice of mind isolation, one of the 4 rules is that you don't meditate on anything. So you don't meditate on your breath. You don't meditate on a mantra. You don't meditate on a rock. You're just letting all of that go.
Do you have any advice for getting back to the attention on the present?
I didn't hear that last couple words.
Do you have any advice for getting the attention back to the present and finding your mind drifting without?
The way they say it is the verb is cutting off in this practice. So you just drop it and let it go. There are other techniques. Like typically in shamatha meditation, I teach to recognize what distracted you, and then kind of take a minute to let it go. In this practice, it's just like you're just taking a knife or an axe and just cutting off that train of thought, and just letting it drop. Sorry?
Is it just blank then? I totally get what you're saying, and I had to focus on something, where I don't look presently.
Yeah,
So,
it's whatever arises in the mind is fine.
right, I get that, but are you not you're supposed to think of nothing?
No, you're not supposed to think of nothing. All you have to do is, when thoughts come up, just let them arise. So if a thought about the future comes up, that's fine, but you don't elaborate on it. You don't. The thought about the future is kind of like a little temptation. Think about the future. Think about the future. So maybe there's with the future, not really a memory, but anticipation, some imagined, some feeling or some imagined future event is kind of just like floating in your head, or maybe some words are arising about a future event, and you just let those arise. Those are like little temptations. Think about the future, think about the future, think about the future intentionally. You just let them arise and you let them pass without grabbing onto that sort of temptation and elaborating on it, following it, conceptualizing it. And if you find yourself following it, that's what you cut off. You can't and don't cut off the thoughts that arise naturally, or images of the future or the past or memories that arise naturally. You don't cut them off. You're only You're only trying to control your own behavior here. You're not trying to control what your mind does naturally in the present. So by present moment arising, that's what arises in the present around you in the physical world, and also what arises naturally in your mind. So thank you guys for that, because that was a good clarification. Any other questions or comments before we get started? Okay. And if the razor thin moment is too confusing, you can just do what we were doing last time. And everyone get back into your meditation posture if you drifted out of it. 7-point posture. It's really quick. Legs, straight spine, open heart, hand over palm, head tilt, tip of the tongue to the roof of your mouth, and relax your mouth and jaw, and then eyes partly open and staring at the tip of your nose, or just staring at nothing. As you slowly come out of meditation, you can take a moment to reflect on your experience. How'd that go for everyone? You're gonna find it harder, more difficult?
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah. I felt like outside influence was almost a welcome. I don't want to say distraction, but like hearing something, anything,
Mhm.
you can kind of observe, and let it go. Kind of help break up, or I don't know, at least break out our thought patterns.
Okay. What kind of thought patterns?
Just reflecting on people or, previous
Interesting.
experiences, that sort of thing.
So you actually needed something in the present, to some sort of event to bring you out of your head.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. One thing that I like, and I've never really heard this recommended, but it's helped me a lot, especially when I was new to meditation, is putting on music, the right kind of music. You don't want, something with a lot of lyrics and stuff, but like I'll do, it's called like Sybient, so it's like ambient electronica, but it's just it's something to break up the monotony of like you're saying, because that's why opening the eyes helps a little bit. Putting on some music can help a little bit. Just to have something to ground yourself in, and not just that void, that nothingness. Like especially if your eyes are closed, and like you said, there's no sounds. There's no sounds going on. Like there's nothing to even anchor you into the real world. So that's something you could try. Um, I actually enjoy this practice more than the prior one, because I get into that feeling of just like every instant kind of flashing, and then it stays a little more fresh. Um, but you have to be able to get to that, and I think takes a little practice. But yeah, and then it's also a lot of fun to do this practice with music when you're in that flow, because then the music is like you're kind of like grooving with it more. But yeah, there's nothing in my opinion. There's nothing wrong with don't put on your favorite rock star, and, but classical music, or just something that's very ambient and very very relaxing, kind of like the stuff they would play when you're in the Penguin Encounter or something in the background. That kind of just ambient kind of music I find really helpful.
Uh, Except for while I was choking, choking,
Yeah.
that sort of took me out of it, but then sort of kept me in it in a sense, because I was like focused on trying not to cough anymore. It sort of helped me sort of clear myself.
I even enjoyed your coffee.
I did it for you. I swallowed it down the esophagus for you. But I did find that I did get sort of just touched on it a couple of times. That sort of like I tried to do it. It almost like feels like I tried to sort of imagine sort of like static, like continuum sort of like zone, as I tried to imagine this concept that we're working on here. I thought I kind of got there a couple of times, like briefly. You kind of just look at you're in that like that in between. So it was good. Aside from joking, but
Hey,
I like it.
I told everyone not to worry about the past, present, or future, but we could have had you dying over here, and then
Exactly.
I'm gonna say, well, we're not going to deal with it until after the hour. I'm glad you're okay.
Yeah, it is interesting though to have noises, and it's kind of quiet comparatively.
It is a really quiet night.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always do have those little outside things that pop up here. That's one thing I noticed with the monastery. It's like, it's silent.
Yeah.
That
is a quiet place. Yeah.
A whole nother level of like.
Yeah. You got to drive for a long way to get to that kind of silence, but
yeah, and all that climb up the hill.
Yeah.
Little thing. But I mean, in that complete silence is like a very different experience too. And where it's just completely silent the entire time. Like, even at home, you're maybe walking above. You hear little things.
So they didn't even have like birds and stuff at Metaforest, where they're like birds chirping, or
I think
Do
maybe
they chase away all the birds?
in the morning meditation, but it's like sunrise. So I don't. I think
Oh, then when all the birds calm down and the
show
new,
at that point.
yeah.
And the crows would come out after that. Once the
Yeah.
sun is up.
One thing that hit me doing this meditation was I was really thinking about what you were saying about staring at a wall. Like that would be, because I got the computer in front of me and everything.
Right.
So with the eyes open meditation, I feel like just staring at a blank wall would actually be really nice.
Yeah, that's what they talked about. That
Mhm.
people sit like a foot from it or something.
Yeah.
Even just like stairs, rungs, cords. Like I'm like, I'm overwhelmed.
Right. Yeah, I'm gonna go find, when I get home, I'm gonna find myself a nice wall and see how it.
I've been sitting on the coffee table on my Zafra,
Huh?
and I've got a Buddha with the candle. I sit and look at him. Yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna try that because I do think, doing the zoning out eyes open is kind of a pathway toward, maintaining
Mhm.
a clear mind.
Yeah, I find I get distracted a lot less with my eyes partly open. When my eyes are all the way closed, then it's like mine just goes into total overdrive.
As I said, this is my first time trying with the eyes open, and I can get that.
Mhm.
So I'll find a wall in my place too.
Yeah. All right, we are out of time, so I'm going to do a quick transfer of merit, and then we'll bring our host Meredith up for some final announcements. If you want, you can turn your phones for this. May any merit gained from this practice benefit all the living beings in all directions, and may we connect to all of our finest qualities by simply resting in ordinary awareness. Thank you, everyone. And Meredith will come up now with some brief announcements for everyone.
Hi, everybody. I'm tonight's host, Meredith. We opened the Dharmabumtemple 18 years ago to introduce Buddhist practice to those who show up. Those who lead are not nuns, monks, gurus, masters, or teachers and are not looking for students. They're simply practitioners sharing their interpretation of the practice. Every night we have different classes led by different people from various Buddhist traditions. We have a recovery sangha that meets several times a week for anyone with addiction, and our food redistribution program is every Thursday at 4:30. We have classes and programs every day, and everything we offer here is always free. The full schedule is on our website and also posted in the entryway above the shoe rack. We have a lending library. See if you like, feel free to borrow it and just bring it back whenever you're done with it. If you could please straighten your seat or cushion before you head out, that would be helpful. Thank you for being here. We wish you well. Hope to see you again soon.
Thanks, everyone. And next time, 2 weeks from now, will be rock meditation. I'll bring the rocks. So if you're available.
So is this an every 2 week thing?
Yeah.
And so on the off week, like I did come